Good morning, my dear students. Today we are going to see about a novel domain about right how to start something about research. Myself, Dr. K. Dinesh. Right, I am working as an associate professor in the Department of Computer Science and Technology. Right, I want to thank the Department of CST as well as MITS Madanapalle for giving this opportunity to educate students and other peoples right in the area of research. And then this lecture series is about not simply about we are not going to speak about only research, right? We are going to speak about how we can able to do something called as research, right? How we can able to identify that we are doing research, and then next thing how we can able to motivate others in order to do something like a research. All right, this is the general motive about this lecture series. And then further we are not right going to speak about more technical content. This is about right how we can able to invite the beginners right towards something called as research, right? This is the main motive about this lecture series. So we are finding many right innovative things and useful things for the researcher, right? How we can able to guide them in a further procedure. So especially this will be useful for BTech and MTech graduates. Even right, it will be useful for PhD students at the beginners level. Right. So we will start our lecture series right from the starting session. What is meant by research? That is something called as introduction to research. Uh, in this presentation, right, what are the things we are going to cover is what is meant by research, right? So far, many of you is having a perception like, okay, this is meant by research. We have to do a innovative thing. We have to identify a groundbreaking research, right? So we will break the myth, right, and we will show what is meant by actually research. And the next thing, right, before starting a research, what are the things we have to do, right? And then third one, right, we will see how a basic level of research we can able to do in terms of finding a research article. And the next thing how we can able to read the research article, and then how we can able to identify our research area, and then next thing how we can able to identify something called as right problem or a definition. Right, these are the things what we are going to see in today's presentation. Right, so first we'll start about right what is meant by research. So in terms of research, right, there will be a many logical definitions, right? So we are not going to speak about definition because we are not going to write any kind of exams here. Right. So what is meant by research means, right? Research will be widely divided into many types, like a descriptive, qualitative, quantitative, experimental, case study, longitudinal, analytics, applied. So there will be many types of research, but I don't want to give all those contents to bore you at the beginning, right? So basically, what is meant by research means it is a kind of investigation, right, in some kind of fields. Otherwise, in some kind of field, it is about study of a particular material, right? So what we are going to do means via using those studies, we are going to find a exact thing about a conclusion, right? Whether this is a correct, whether this is a wrong, whether this experiment is passed, whether this experiment is failed, right? These are the thing what we are going to make in terms of research. So actually, right, whatever I said, right, many of you will have some confusion about what is meant by research. So in simple terms, if I want to tell what is meant by research means nowadays, right, you peoples are buying a mobile phone, right? For that, simply you are going to a shop, whether you are buying a mobile phone, no, all right, you are going, right, you are checking many online stores, you are checking whether the product is having a very good feedback, whether camera is good, storage is good, whether gaming performance is good, right? So all those things is something called as research, right? So we are researching on a particular product and then we are buying that particular product. Similarly, right, we are doing in many other fields, right? So this is something about research. So in day to day's life, every human being is doing some kind of a research, starting from buying a mobile phone, selecting a clothes, right, buying a bike, right? Similarly, right, we are doing the research in terms of technical level, right? So how we can able to do improvement, right, in terms of a current scenario, right? That is called as research, right? So this is very basic term what is meant by research. So in terms of research, two things are important. So everyone will think research means we have to show some kind of concrete evidence to prove something. Actually, evidence is required, but that evidence is either failure or success doesn't matter. The research can able to say, right? So for example, if you take right Edison, It isn't done an experiment of, right, 2774 experiments he has done in order to prove the bulb won't glow. That means, right, those 2774 experiments are failure. That failure is also an research, right? That is the main thing, right, that everyone should understand. Research is not only about success, research is about, right, if you do like this won't work, right? That is also a research. That is the first myth that everyone has to accept in terms of research. And the next thing, right, we have to find a conclusion, right? The conclusion may be either positive or negative, right? So we don't worry about the positive or negative, but whether we are doing the research or not is the mandatory thing. So this is the main thing, right, that will be should be there in your mind in order to start something called as research. So all the research won't be success, right? If it is a failure, the failure is also a research, right? So next thing, right, before starting the research, right, what are the things we have to see, right? First one, identify your area of interest, right? So what is meant by area of interest, right? That we should think before starting. So for some people, what is their actual, right, interested area, in that they should start something called as research. Research means nothing but searching, right? So for example, right, I am good at, right, something called as a smartphone, right? So what I should do means I should check what are the innovative things are already there in terms of smartphone, and then what are the things actually required in terms of smartphone, right? What is the thing that I am capable of bringing inside that smartphone, right? So this is something called as identifying your area of interest, right? So with interest, if you do something, that will be different, right? In terms of forcefully we are doing means that will be different. So whenever you are selecting an area, in that, right, we should be, right, having some kind of interest. That is the most and prime factor about identifying your area of interest, right? Next thing, right, first we have identified. Next thing, what we have to do means we have to have some kind of basic study in that area. So what do you mean by basic study? So who will provide that basic study, right? So for that, very simple examples are available. We are very good, right, and then we are in the area of, right, in the era of Google, right, that we should accept. So whatever we want, what we can able to do, we can search in terms of Google. Same way, right, whatever area is interested to you, with respect to that area, you have to search in terms of, right, three important things. One, in internet we can able to search, and then next one, concrete evidence article, that is called as research papers, we can able to search. And then third one, some kind of patents or products are available, right? In these three areas, right, we should search about, right, what are the basic things are already exist. Why we have to do this kind of thing means, so for example, if you take, right, I want to design something called as a bike, right? So for example, now if I say I want to design a bike, but I can't able to design a bike that will be there in terms of TVS 50, for example, right? Whether anyone will buy? No, right? So whenever we are doing the research, our research should basically know about what are the current scenario is going on, what are the things that has been already achieved, right? So all those things, right, we should be aware of, right? So if you do the research that is already exist, right, but identically we don't know all those scenario, then it is a waste of time. So we have to do basic study about all those research areas also. And the next thing, we should prepare the list of concepts. So whenever you select an area, the area of research will be very large, right, basically, right? So in that area, right, what we require. So for example, if I take, right, say mobile phone as a research domain. So in mobile phone, right, battery is one area, right, motherboard is another area, sensors are another area, applications are another area, right? So in this area, which one gives you more interest, then according to that you should prepare, right? And then fourth important thing is, right, we should generate the idea, and we should get the help of, right, in terms of college means some faculties will be there. For PhD students, some guides will be there. If you are an independent researcher, you should have something called as a mentor in that particular area. So we should discuss that idea with them. That is a more important thing in terms of research. And then finally, after having many discussion, it's not about one time discussion or 1 hour discussion. So the discussion will take some amount of time. After, right, finalizing the discussion, whether the research area is having some kind of future direction, whether we are having a scope to do some kind of improvement, After analyzing all those things, right, we should finally identify our goal. And then next thing, after identifying goal also, right, we should be having some kind of difficulties while we are proceeding in terms of research, right? So at that time, we should not be panic in terms of changing the entire ideas, right? So these are the things what should be right mentally, and then right physically prepared to face something in terms of research, right? Next thing, how to find something called as article. So first thing I said in terms of article is, right, we can able to Google search. And the next thing is how we can able to find some kind of concrete evidence that has been approved by the list of eminent peoples in that research area means. So for that there will be many online libraries are available where we can able to search. So first one ACM, next one IEEE, third one Springer, and then fourth nowadays Google Scholar. And then right in terms of India, we are having something called as right South Ganga. So in that, right, all the thesis, that means the PhD thesis written by the students, right, will be available freely over there. So in that, if you see, they will have a detailed report about all those research what they have done, right? So these are the areas where you can able to get the concrete evidence, right? So as of now we'll stop here, then in future thing I will tell you how we can able to read all those things and all. And then next thing, right, so we should identify, most important thing in terms of research is we should identify some group of people who are working in that domain, right? That is the main thing. So we have to identify the research group. And then next thing, we should have some kind of communication with them, right? That means we have to work with those peoples also. Why means that only will make us to be there in the current right scenario, that means current trend about that particular research area. And then most important thing is doing a research is different, the sharing idea and getting comments suggestion from all other experts is very very important in terms of research, because one suggestion can able to change the entire idea, right? So for that we should be always connected with the technical peoples, right, who are working in those area. For that we should be right continuously attending some kind of conferences as well as workshop in your research area. For that, right, many areas are there, many platforms are there, right? We can attend the conference via virtual mode or physical mode. And then there will be a wide varieties of workshops will be happening in all over the domains. So these are all the things what we should do. Why means, right, starting a research domain and learning everything on our own will take lot of time. Rather than that, attending a workshop and attending a conference will get us the right huge impact on that particular research domain. That means, right, whatever they have done for 3 years or 4 years, they can able to teach us right within right 1 hour or 2 hour. That means we can able to get that kind of creamy content that won't be available in other places, right? So we should be right motivated to attend conferences and workshops. This is the major part, right, in terms of research. Next thing, right, here comes very important thing, how to read a research paper. Why means we know how to read a content from a Google, right? We know how to right meet a particular person, get some content. But most of the difficulties what the students are facing, or the people's right in terms of master degree and PhD is facing, is how to read the research paper, right? That is the biggest task, that is the biggest issue. This is the thing as per KGF, the same dialogue we can able to use. So how we can able to make you to read something called as a research paper, right? We will teach you how to read. First thing, right, in a common way, if you take, right, what we'll do first, we'll read the title, then we'll read the abstract, then introduction part, then entire paper related work, then conclusion, then finally we'll read something called as the body of the paper. This is the common mistake that everyone will try to do, right? If they are doing in this common way, what will happen means they can able to concentrate for some time. After that they won't understand many things in terms of research article, because reading the content from the Google is different, reading the content from an article is a different. So if you do the normal way, what will happen means you won't understand most of the content that is present in terms of the particular domain. So what we'll do, after reading one or two paragraphs we don't understand, there will be some kind of mathematical notation that we won't understand, then we will right close the entire thing about research. So in order to overcome this problem, right, we will tell you a small technique, right, how we have to read the paper, right? So for that, right? We have to go for some of the most common way means what? Right, we have to use something called as right pen and paper, right? That is the most important thing in terms of research, or otherwise it is an optimistic way how we can able to do something called as research, right? So why we are saying pen and paper means no problem, no pen and no paper means if digitally, right, if you are noting down something, that is good. So first thing, instead of reading the title, what we should do means we should understand the title. First thing what you have to do means you have to know the entire meaning. That means word by word meaning of a particular paper's title. That is the main thing, right? You note down, right? With respect to the title, we should do the research, right? So what is meant by that, right? Then we have to note down. If you understand the title first, then only we can able to understand whether the content is worthful for the thing, because the entire articles, right, idea will be projected in only one and a half line, means that is called as title of the paper. So if we understand the title of the paper, then we can able to understand or grasp the content of a particular article also. So that is the most important thing, right? Then what we can do, we can able to read abstract. So abstract can able to give a most reliable content. So it will be split into three types, that and all we will see in the upcoming session, right? So the abstract can able to tell what is the problem they are addressing, what is the problem they are facing, how they are bringing the solution. So all those three contents will be available where, in terms of abstract. So we have to read abstract. Then next part, we should go and read the conclusion. That means they said what is the problem, what is the problem they are addressing, right? What is the way, right? So by that proposed method or by the way they are addressing the problem, what is the improvement they have got, right? That we can able to, right, see in terms of result. That means concrete proof, right, in terms of conclusion. So we have to read the conclusion as a, right, third important thing. Then we can able to read something called as problem definition and motivation. So in terms of research article, right, if you take, right, most of the, right, authors will write their problem definition, right, at the end of introduction part, right, and then they will specify their motivation also at the end of introduction part. So we have to read the content that is related, right? That means at the end of introduction part we should do, right? If you identify these four areas, right, then, right, you can able to grasp, right, 30 percentage of the paper's content, right? That is the main thing, right? And then next thing, we should check their reference papers. Why we should check the reference papers means, right, whenever the article comes, the article will take large amount of time for processing. That means review process, acceptance, then publication. So it will take a large time period. So in order to check whether that particular article is there in the current trend, we should check the reference papers. So that only we have mentioned, we have to refer the reference paper and the quality of the reference papers also. So if you complete these five parts, right, then we can have a basic idea whether we have to read this paper fully or not. Then we can able to proceed with the remaining things, right? So this is the optimistic way how we can able to read a particular article, right? If you do in this way, then you peoples won't get frustrated in reading the paper, and further this motivates you to read more number of papers in your identified area, right? So this is the most important thing, how to read a paper, because it gives a wide amount of knowledge in your domain, and then it will give you the skill how we can able to write also. Because, right, reading something in terms of newspaper, Google, right, in terms of magazines are different. How to write a technical document, that those kind of knowledge we can able to get whenever we read some kind of articles. Other than that means it is not possible, right? Next thing, we'll dive detail in terms of how we can able to identify, right, your research areas, right? How we can able to identify our research area, right? Whether any guess how we can able to identify our research area? So basically, identifying research area means based upon your interest, that is fine, but we won't have only one area of interest, right? Everyone knows, right? Today we'll read something, then we'll become okay, we want to, for example, if you news, right, the data analytics is the biggest domain that it was growing, then we'll think we should be very good at data analytics, we'll start research in data analytics. Next day, right, they are saying something like AI is going to rule the entire era. Means then we will think, right? We have to do something in terms of AI, right? So next thing, if something robotic comes, then we'll think about robotics, right? So our area of interest can able to change, right, in terms of time, but right. So we should find a research area that should give interest in present as well as in future, right? That we should check. That is the most important thing about selecting or identifying the research area, right? We should not select a research area that is in current trend with respect to today's date, but after 1 year it won't be there. For example, many areas we can able to tell, right? So for example, if you take, right, distributed computing, parallel computing in terms of computer science and all, once upon a time that is a big research area. Now almost the research are saturated in that area. So we should think whether the research area will able to, right, be there in future for at least 10 years, right? According to that we should select our research areas. Next thing, right, how we can able to possibly, right, search for our research area. For that, right, a basic idea will be there. So first, right, we have identified your area of interest, we have done, right. In that area of interest, what we have to do means we have to read a lot, right? What is meant by read a lot, right? It is doesn't means, right, like a chitty robot we have to read the entire books like this and that and all. So we have to, right, utilize our time, right, usefully and meaningfully in this particular domain, right? So how to read, we already said how to read a research article like that, right? We should utilize our time, right, in terms of reading, right? If you read a lot of things, right, what will happen means we will get a, right, overall view about the entire research domain, and it can help us, right, in terms of entire research area, which one we are interested towards. If I say smartphone is my research area, whether I'm interested in battery optimization or in terms of display or in terms of a board, in terms of performance, right, like that we can able to optimize, right, or narrow down our research area. That is the main thing we should narrow down. And the next thing, in that narrow down area, again we have to do, right, right, types of investigation. So what type of investigation we should do? Either qualitative or quantitative, either a review or it is a experimental thing. Like that we have to do a further investigation, and then for then we have to decide what is the significance that is there in that particular domain, right? So whether the significance is there, right, whether we can able to achieve something, whether you can able to produce some kind of concrete evidence, right? So like that we have to check, and then further we have to proceed towards the research area. So this is how the research, right, areas is possible to review, right? Like this you have to, right, do the entire process again and again, right? Next thing, so what is the most important thing is making a choice. So what is meant by making a choice, right? So we have seen research area, we have narrowed down, we are seeing what type of research we have to take, but we won't do, right, in terms of a single narrow down field. Whenever you take a research area, in that research area multiple fields will be there, right? Even if you narrow down, in that narrow down thing also many fields will be there. So within that, right, how we can able to make our exact choice, that matters. So how we can able to make our exact choice means based upon the productivity, based upon our area of interest, and then based upon the guide. So for example, I am starting a new research area, for that no mentors are available. So as a, right, beginner in terms of a research, without mentor I can't able to proceed many things, right? So if you got experience in terms of research, that means how to carry out the research, how we can able to, right, get do some kind of experimentation, how we can able to communicate, right, those facts into an article, right, and then how we can able to review, right? If you have all those ideas, right, then we can able to take a new domain where no one has stepped into, right? But if you are not having those kind of experience, then you should select a safer research area where you can able to get a mentor at least, right? That is the way, right? That is the way how you can able to make your choice, right? So based upon mentors, right, that is the most important thing, but that everyone will forget. right? Whenever you are selecting a research area, at that time you should have a mentor, right, in that area, so that only they can able to guide you, right? If you're stuck in terms of a problem, right, you doesn't know how to solve, they can able to give some suggestions, right? So that is the major thing, right? As a beginner, right, if you are there in intermediate level, if you have completed your mtech, if you completed your phd, then no problem, right? You can select any domain where you can able to, right, do lot of research on your own, right? Next, how to read. So this is very important thing that all the researchers should understand, right? That means how they should read a particular article, or how they should read a particular book, or how they should read something about their domain. So three areas, right, what we should cover, right, is first one, we should read books in terms of the research area. And the next thing, we should read survey papers in that particular domain. And then third one, we have to go for the technical papers. So what is this three? Books, right? We know books, right? Books means it is a storytelling process, one thing that should be in a more interesting way, and then they are having large amount of pages, so they can tell the story in a more interesting way, right, in terms of diagrammatic, pictorial, all those concrete evidences also, right? So it is very easy for us also to read a book, right? So that only first preference should be given to a book, right? You can select one or two recent books, right? In that you can able to read. So how to read further, if you come, right, in that, for example, two books are there, so each is of 200 pages, so per day, right, just try to read 10 pages. If you take like that, how many days it will take? 40 days, right? Only 40 days it will take. And the next thing, what we have to do means we have to read not directly the research or technical articles. We have to read about survey papers. What is meant by survey paper means, right, whatever the research they have done so far in that particular domain, they will, right, give the concrete evidence, right? What are the, right, papers are good, what are the techniques are good, when they have proposed the techniques, what are the disadvantages are there, what are the new techniques came to overcome those disadvantages. So the survey paper can able to give you the entire picture about the research area, what you are interested. So for that, at least you have to select 20 papers, right? For each paper, if you take 4 days, it will take almost 80 days minimum in order to read all the basic survey papers, right? These are all what we are mentioning is for the researchers. That means PhD scholars at the beginners level, right? So they are starting the first year, right, of the research. So at that time, these are all will help them a lot. And then next thing, they have to read the technical papers. If they read books as well as survey papers, right, then there will be having a good, right, that means technical content in that research area. They will know all the basic terms, they will understand some kind of mathematics, right, all those things. So now they have to read the technical papers. So 30 papers, per paper you are taking 3 days time to read. So that means, right, totally 90 days, right? And then next thing, we are narrow downing the research after reading, right, books, survey papers and technical papers. What we'll do means we'll narrow down our entire research area. So in that, again, you are reading 20 more papers. For those 20 papers also 3 days, again 60 days. Roughly, if you calculate, it will be around how many months, right? Within 7 8 months, right? What we have done, we have narrowed down our area. Basically every researchers will have, right, minimum, right, 9 to 12 months in order to give their problem definition. So what we are doing, within, right, 8 to 9 months we are completing the entire task, right? So this is the plan what we should have as a researcher, right? Without plan we should not do, right? If you do like this, at the end of ninth month or 10th month, right, you will be very confident about the basic facts in your research area. And then you know what are the problems are there, right? What are the methods came in order to solve the problem, and then you are having a good knowledge about your research area. Then, right, it's time to start the actual research. That means experimentation part, right, trying the new things out, everything, right? So this is the plan that every researcher should have, right? If it is a PhD scholar, we are having this many count. If you are a masters, reduce half of it. If you are a BTech students, reduce, right, 1 by third. If you've done, that is more than sufficient, right? So this is the plan what you should have, right, before starting the research, right? Next thing, next and most important thing, what all the students will think, right, is discuss your research idea in terms of supervisor, right? This image can able to showcase everything, right? So for example, right, we said an example about Edison. So right, he has done 2700 experiments, right, nothing has been passed, right, and finally one thing has been passed, right, bulb is finally glowing. Like that, whenever we are right giving our idea with respect to our perception, it may be correct, it may be 100% working, but the guide or mentor or supervisor what we are having, they are having large amount of experience, right, in terms of research. So they will check in terms of feasibility of implementation, whether concrete proof will be available, whether we can able to communicate, whether the journal will get accepted easily, right? Many things they will consider, whether the feasibility or infrastructure is available to implement, right? Then they will select, they will give you suggestion. So whenever we are having discussion with the supervisor, don't think, right, whatever they are rejecting means don't get frustrated, right? They will be thinking in many ways, right? That means how your research should proceed, right? So whenever we are having a discussion, that means continuous, right, discussion should be there with our right guides, mentor or supervisor. Why means, right, they are having some experience, right? With that experience they can able to say, right, whether the idea of us will match for the future research or not. So you don't get frustrated if they reject, right? So whatever comes good, that they can able to select or acknowledge, right? That is the most important thing that every student should have in their mind. And then last thing, so what is the last thing means, right, it is a never ending process, right? Satisfying a guide is not the easiest task, that everyone knows, right? They will tell modification, modification, modification. So why they are telling the modification means, right, that is something like which molds your research, right? So whenever the supervisor is telling some suggestion, right, we should accept and try to do. Otherwise, right, whatever they are saying, if it is a wrong, it may be wrong sometimes. At that time we should give the concrete evidence to prove that whatever he has said is wrong, right? So in that aspect, what we have to do, it is a never ending process, right? We should provide a concrete evidence to the supervisor and prove whatever he may be said is also a wrong thing, right? For that, what we have to do, we have to work, right? We have to be consistent. So research is a consistent thing rather than a hard work or a smart work. So whenever you want to become a good researcher, you should be a consistent person. Whenever you are consistent, then automatically research will come for you. Why means, Edison is a best example for consistent. Why means, right, 2774 times an experiment was failed, but he is consistent to make the experiment again and again and again, right? That makes him, right, a inventor, right? Like that we should be also a consistent person to, right, pursue research, right? That is the main thing, right? And then last important thing, how to find something called as a problem definition. So what is meant by problem definition means, it's very simple task. We will discuss about the problem definition in a detail in the upcoming session, but as of now we'll give you a small glance about what is meant by research problem definition actually. Right. So problem definition means what are the problem that I have not addressed so far. Right. You may think this is a critical problem, but no one has addressed. Right. Then that is called as problem definition. Next thing in terms of problem definition is, right, audience. Right. If you solve the problem, who are all get benefited? That is most important thing. If I am doing a research, but the research is not useful, right, to any kind of targeted audience means, then it won't get acknowledged, right? If the research or problem what we are identifying is not actually the right targeted audience of current scenario, but in future it is there, that is also fine. But it is not, right, giving some kind of, right, solution for any kind of audience means, then it won't get rewarded, right? So that is the main thing, right? And the next thing, what is the disadvantage with that problem, why we are bringing the solution, right? What is the motivation that takes to solve the problem, right? If you solve the problem, what is the advantage we can able to get? So these are all the compromised thing, right? That means, right, collective thing, right, that can able to define something called as problem definition, right? So with this, right? Right, our entire session summary comes, what are the things we have seen so far is what is meant by research we have seen, right? And then before starting the research, what are the things or mindset we should bring in, right? How to find an article, how to read a article, how we can able to identify the research area, and finally we have seen a small introduction thing about the problem definition, right? So in next series of lectures we'll see about, right, what is the problem definition, how we can able to derive the problem definition by reading articles, right? All those detailed things we'll see in terms of upcoming video lectures. Thank you. Thanks for the valuable time, and thanks for the, right, um, infrastructures support provided by the Department of CST as well as MITS Madanapalle. Thank you.